I was a little inspired or something by something Venerable Jampa said to me after I spoke a few times ago about how to move through space, which was mostly something that came from my own experience. So I thought I would share something else that has come from my own experience of living here. And it's something actually I'm working on right now, but I feel like has been something that's maybe, I don't want to say plagued me, but been kind of challenging, something I had trouble figuring out, and maybe I'm getting a handle on. Maybe you can experiment with this and see what works for you. So I'll present it this way. This is about relaxing. And in our scriptures, it comes up in a number of different kind of situations. And so I had to kind of pick apart, well, when is that really a problem? And it really goes back to when I first moved here. There was a person who knew the Abbey well, knew Venerable children well, and he said to me, there's 3 things you need to do to be able to live here. You need to he just said to me, don't complain about anything, relax and be joyful. I just kind of took that on, and then I had a complete challenge with all 3 of them. So the never complain about anything wasn't so hard in the sense of you can kind of just close your mouth, but really this BBC is more about working with, this talk is more about working with the mind. And so in that still seemed more workable in the sense of, I learned over time that I was making dramas out of things, in my mind. Everything felt like a big drama sometimes, making mountains out of molehills and things that all of us have been learning about. And somehow, basically it came down to seeing that the mind that's complaining just doesn't work. So it gets not that I don't complain, but it's a little easier. That was easier to kind of at least work with. And then to be joyful, that was kind of a struggle for quite a while. And then I finally read something from Geshe Sopa that said, just try to get to neutral. And that was very helpful for me because I couldn't actually make my mind joyful. That's why I once tried out for cheerleading and I couldn't smile on command, and I flunked that right away. And it was kind of like feeling like the same kind of thing. And that was a very helpful piece of advice for me because I was trying to get to a place that the mind really couldn't go to in that moment. But just to go to neutral gave me the space, maybe, because I was trying to do something that wasn't really going to happen. I don't know, somehow that doesn't loom as such a big problem. Not that I have tons to learn about it, but the relaxing one has been, of those 3, has been the most challenging. And I think what I realized is that this is something Venerable Children used to tell me for quite a long time. Early when I was living here, she would just say, well, just relax. Just relax. I'd be sitting there at the table and kind of, just relax. And it's kind of like when somebody says, let go. Like, how can you let go of something when you don't know how? And so when I used to work as a physical therapist, I used to have to move people's bodies to test their joints or see if the ligaments have any integrity to them or to treat them or whatever. And I used to have to get them to relax their muscles. And I learned pretty quickly that when I said relax, about half the time it didn't work. And so I had to figure out what are the specifics? What does someone really need to know? Because that's definitely not working. And it's like, that's how this was for me. Just to tell myself to relax was like not working so well. And so then as we studied a number of times when children taught on the 5 hindrances to meditation. And one of those is restlessness and remorse. And remorse actually helped me to a degree with this because I realized that what I was doing somewhat was kind of frying inside about something I didn't feel good about that I had done, which is kind of like this useless remorse for something you hadn't done. And that was a challenge. But somewhere along the line, a very saving grace for me in terms of that really has been a mainstay of something I use is to come back to integrity and consideration for others, those virtuous mental factors. And that helped a lot. That kind of cleared out the remorse. I really feel strongly that when we have values, as Gandhi said, we really can't live up to them, but it's that we have them and that we aspire to them. And when I start getting hard on myself, I bring this back up and I say, hey, I'm trying to live according to these values. I can't live up to them all the time. I'm lacking integrity in this moment. And that was very helpful, and it still is helpful. So that kind of helped a lot with the remorse. But then I thought, well, maybe this not being able to relax, for a long time I thought it was from restlessness. Because, when you work with these 5 hindrances, one of them, some of them are your main ones. And for me, anger was the biggest thing I worked on for years. And once you start getting a handle on that, then you can start really seeing more of the other ones. So then the last few years, maybe 3 years, I've had some recognition finally that, my mind has a lot of restlessness in it. And I kind of attribute this ability not to relax to that, which I think there's some that there. There's mental restlessness and there's physical restlessness, and they both they're just a little too energetic for what you're trying to do sometimes when you're meditating, or even off the cushion. That zingy kind of energy that drives people crazy. I don't know. So only recently did I come across something, though, that feels like it's kind of cutting to a different level. And I think it's because, for me, a lot of times what I use in my mind, or have used, is to stabilize my mind. And so in that, you're kind of letting go of the past, letting go of the future, and stabilizing on an object. And there's a part of, that helps a lot with restlessness, because the main antidote to restlessness is breathing meditation. And for me, that's quite helpful. But, when you just do breathing meditation, and you haven't really kind of seen the underpinnings of what is bringing something up, you actually can't really clear it out. You've just kind of smoothed it out for a while. They say, actually breathing meditation or stabilizing meditation can subdue your afflictions, and it definitely does. It's kind of like giving you enough space so that then you can calm down enough so that you can actually use the antidotes or explore, or use that kind of investigative, probing kind of mind. And when you have too much going on, like me, it was way over restlessness. There was just too much activity in my mind. I couldn't make the antidotes work, and so I had to make my mind more stable. And actually, Venerable Children helped me a lot with that. And that was maybe, 7 years ago. So, that's kind of where I was. And then recently I thought, okay, we're going into this retreat, and what am I going to focus on this winter? I decided, I need to turn back to these Lojong teachings, our mind transformation teachings. These are teachings in our tradition that are kind of unique in a way. They're really kind of like blossomed in Tibetan Buddhism, and they help you take any circumstance and be able to work with it and take it into your spiritual life. And so I open up this book. I just read like this one thing, and I just said, I'm just going to stay with this for a while, because this, has this thing about relaxing in it. And so and I want to say one other thing about this, because in our life, we have, our whole path could be summarized by the 3 higher trainings of ethical conduct, meditation, and wisdom, right? Which is the same thing as the Eightfold Noble Path. This is what we do, right? So even though we don't do our winter retreats in a way to gain single point and concentration, we can still work on those conditions, the inner and outer conditions. And one of those is contentment. And so the thing I read had to do with relaxing and contentment, being content. And both of those things, I had already kind of committed a few months ago that I need to think more about these 3 higher trainings and work on my mind in a way that I'm more content, satisfied easier, and even this thing with relaxing. So I have some kind of aspiration going on in this direction. So here's what this thing said about relaxing. It really pointed me to look at when when I feel like I'm not relaxed, or even I don't really do it that way. I'll be just sitting here, or I'll be in the meditation hall. It doesn't matter if I'm on or off the cushion, but I'll just take my mind to, what am I hoping for? What am I expecting, or what am I fearing in this moment? And that, I think, is the thing that ties in for me to relax, to able to let my mind relax. To me, that's a lot more subtle. I mean, I know that I've never been able to figure out my expectations, usually till after they weren't met. I walk in here sometimes and I'm going to prepare for a situation that I think, that I know triggers me. I'm always surprised. I mean, it's like, okay, I prepared for that, but I didn't prepare for this. It's like, and then I find I have another expectation. Or I have some things that have stayed in my mind that I haven't fully resolved from my expectations before I even moved here, about what it would be like to live here, what I would be doing, and things like that. And I want to let these things go, right? So looking at expectations, hopes, and fears, well, fears is something that generally in my life I've been unaware of. I mean, I've had to work I have to work at that, to be aware of when I'm having fear. And hopes, I don't know, I haven't thought about that. I know I ran across this when I first entered Buddhism more formally, and I thought, wow, what a strange idea it is to give up hope. What are they talking about there? And so I think it's the thing of really discerning what they're talking about. Like, hope in what they're talking about there is not aspiration. Aspiration is something that we need to do. They're talking about hope in the sense of, like, actually all three of these are really relating to attachment. It's relating to exaggerating the qualities of things and then kind of holding in a way. And so when your hope, I find this kind that's not helpful for mind, is maybe where there's some kind of situation that, like, what would be a good example? Somebody else got this opportunity and you didn't. You had some hopes that you were going to be able to do this, right? Those kind of things that can disturb the mind. That kind of hope, I think, is, I don't know, you'll have to explore for yourself. So what I'm saying here is that try an experiment. Just go through your day and think about expectation, fear, and hope, and see if that has anything to do with allowing your mind to be relaxed. For me, it's definitely been very helpful. And the relaxed mind to me is one that can easier move to contentment. So that's really a helpful thing, because if our mind is more content, that's one of the things that we need to develop in order to gain a single point of concentration, calm abiding. And we need that powerful kind of mind in order to develop our wisdom fully. And it's very useful along the way just to subdue, to be able to keep the mind focused. It's just helpful for many things. Okay. So this, again, these teachings give me a lot of confidence that I have come to the conclusion there's no mental state or even experience that I've had in my life that I couldn't apply the teachings of the Buddha to help to really work with them. And so, over time, we just kind of keep revisiting things and seeing different levels and seeing, we're very complex people, as His Holiness always says. So this is what I find to be the best part of it, is when you kind of, can see things and then be able to recognize them more quickly, so that when things come up, we aren't so overpowered. That's really the bummer, right?